Afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our licensing committee. Wednesday, the 26th of November, also happens to be budget day, and of course the budget is ongoing as we're in here. So please refrain from any exclamations on what you might see on your phone, if at all possible. Apologies for absence, Mel. Anybody?
Thank you. We have none.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Declarations of interest. Anybody got any of those? No. Moving on. Minutes of the last meeting. I wasn't there. 19th of March. Anybody want to propose and second those minutes? Thank you, Councillor Googe, and Councillor Bowden hopped in as well. Thank you very much. It's a second. Brilliant. Okay. Then item 4, the Deregulation Act, pages 9 to 16 in our pack. I'm going to hand over to Kieran, if you wouldn't mind, to present this paper. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chair. Lovely to meet you all. I don't think I've met many of you before. I'm Kieran Lahelm, the Licensing Manager for Worcestershire Regulatory Services. The reason this paper's in the pack today is because we get an awful lot of questions about Uber and what can you do about Uber. And what I wanted to do was set out this paper to set out the reasons why when you as members come to me or anybody else comes to me and says, what can you do about Uber? Well, there's not a lot that we can actually do about Uber because of obviously the regulation that's set out in this paper before you. I'm not going to go through it page by page. I'm hoping that you've all had a chance to go through it and understand the legalities around how operating models such as Uber are able to operate the way they do. And it is down to the Deregulation Act. And it allows far more flexibility for taxis now to operate across the country with very few boundaries. I said that we can't do much about Uber. What we are trying to do are work with Wolverhampton City Council who license Uber, and we have done quite a few operations now in district councils with Wolverhampton in the nighttime economy, and to be fair, they have actually been really good, where we've had to pull vehicles over to check them. Warning letters have gone out. So we're doing quite a few of those over the run up to Christmas with Wolverhampton. So what I wanted to do is have answers for you as members when anybody contacts you or asks questions, that you've actually got some answers before you to answer those questions, and because the question always comes up. But I hope you've had a chance to go through it, but happy to take any questions if you have got any.
Councillor Bowden.
Just one question, simple one. You probably answered it already. Is Wolverhampton the only place that issues licences to Uber?
They are the main one, aren't they? I think Birmingham are now having conversations with them. But Wolverhampton is the main one.
And do we see any money out of it for Wychavon if they use our patch, or does it, or the licence money just goes to Wolverhampton? Okay, thanks.
Councillor Clatworthy.
Thanks, Chairman. It's a question really on observation. You mentioned about Wolverhampton, and as I drive around Evesham and the area, I find myself behind a taxi car and realise it's not Wychavon because of the colour of it, and when it's stopped or traffic lights, whatever, I can distinctly see it is Wolverhampton. Should we be reporting those, or do we have to take it that they may be bringing somebody, collecting somebody or whatever, because I think we all agree that Wolverhampton is quite a long way away from Evesham.
Yeah, so Councillor, that's what the Deregulation Act has actually allowed. So for other operators to go into other areas, there are a few things that they can't do. They cannot go onto a rank in Wychavon, and they can't apply for hire, which I've set out in the paper. So if you ever see any of that, then you must report it to us. And we are doing an operation in another council at the moment, which if it works, we'll do and roll out. But that's where we're looking at all the intelligence and the complaints that are coming in, and making a decision on how we deal with that going forward. But what we always say is, if you don't report it and let us know, we haven't got that intelligence and evidence to do something about it.
Sorry. Can taxi drivers that are registered elsewhere go onto a rank? I thought they could, having just read this, or did I misunderstand that?
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Can taxi drivers registered elsewhere go onto a taxi rank, say at Parkway?
No. So on the taxi ranks, the only people that can use those taxi ranks are those licensed in that district. So if you do see that, please do report it, because they're not allowed to go on a taxi rank.
I very rarely have taken a taxi, so I don't quite understand what those words "ply for hire" mean.
It's when, so any private hire must be pre-booked. You can't flag one down, yeah.
I wondered if I could ask a couple of questions then. So how old can Uber cars be if they're operating in Wychavon?
That's not our policy, it's Wolverhampton's policy. So Uber, whoever they're licensed with, so Wolverhampton will set out that policy, and it doesn't matter what their policy says, they are allowed to roam.
Oh no, I appreciate that. I just wondered how old, because we've got a limit of 10 years, which we try and keep. What's the equivalent?
You're asking me what Wolverhampton... I don't know the answer to that, Councillor. I'll have to find out. Okay. Do you know it, Jenny?
I don't know.
No.
We can have a quick Google.
I mean, the other thing was the fees. So I've just looked up the fees. And we'll come on to ours fees later, but our fees are £240 now for a new private hire licence. The equivalent in Wolverhampton, according to ChatGPT, £69. Our 3-year licence is £365, and the equivalent for Wolverhampton is £138. So if you are a taxi driver and you're thinking about going into business in Wychavon and you've got the choice of signing up with us or going into Uber, accepting that you can't apply for hire and accepting that you can't use a rank, you're saving yourself quite a lot of money before you get going. And presumably, I think you can use an older car. I don't know if you've got an answer, Jenny. So. No, that's. I've just wondered if you've got an answer yet. No. Okay.
I've got a sort of an answer to that. Sorry. I don't know what Wolverhampton's policy is because I haven't Googled it, but Uber themselves have a policy that their cars must be no more than 10 years old. That's a hard limit for all Uber drivers, no matter where they're registered. So it wouldn't conflict with our policies anyway, no matter where they're registered.
Thank you. Okay. Any further questions on the paper as it stands? I mean, I think it gives us a bit of background, but I think it's sort of, I guess the sentiment behind it was probably from ourselves, what are we going to do about it? And I think it probably asks as many questions as it answers in terms of that, because clearly there is a difference. My suggestion is that we do, as a committee, form a smaller working group. If there's anybody who wants to join that, or it can be all of us, I don't mind. But I would like us to have a ponder outside of the formal meetings, to do a bit more research on it, find out what other councils are doing, find out if there is a reasonable answer, and also understand what it is that keeps our taxi business alive currently. In the little bit of time that I've been chair, my view is, clearly a lot of the work is being done for the councils themselves, taking school children to, particularly special educational needs children, to different schools, or other kids to schools that are outside of their normal catchment for some reason. But beyond that, it's a bit unclear. And I think from the point of view of tourism, it's worth our while thinking about how do we keep a healthy taxi industry going, unless we're all going to accept that Uber is the answer, which it clearly can't be, because you do need taxi ranks, and you do need the ability to, I think, apply for hire too. I'd be interested in any councillors' thoughts on that.
One of the issues that we do have, I've noticed, we get, as councillors, we get a lot of complaints from taxi drivers about Ubers on the taxi rank. And they send us photos, and when you look at the photos, they're not actually on the taxi rank, they're on the double yellow lines just off to the side of the taxi rank. So of course they're not breaking the taxi rank rules, they're simply parking illegally. But that's not something we can deal with by complaint to their licensing authority, because the licensing authority assume that will be dealt with by the usual enforcement means here in wherever they're parking illegally. So unless our civil enforcement officers are out and about on the street, that's never going to get addressed. But I was wondering whether this is something we could work with our county colleagues on changing the way that the bays are laid out, possibly, including possibly some physical build-outs to make it impossible for a car to look like it's on the taxi rank when it's actually just off it, if that makes sense.
Thanks, Councillor Googe. That sounds like an excellent sort of practical suggestion that we could look for. Any other comments immediately from anybody? Did you want to come in then? Yeah.
I've wrote quite a few notes on a few of the questions that have been asked already, so I just wanted to answer those. So in terms of Wolverhampton can operate and charge less because of the amount of vehicles that they've got. Therefore, they have the ability to charge less because of the amount of income that they actually bring in, and that is their operating model. I'm not saying that we can't look at ours, but that is the reason for it. Centrally, I'm sure you've all heard of local government reorganisation. In the paper set out on LGR, there is an indication that the government are looking at a TfL type taxi model, so that all taxis will be centrally governed by another body outside of the local authority. I know that the Institute of Licensing held a meeting on this not too long ago, where they discussed thoughts. So just bearing that in mind. It's really difficult to campaign for our own taxes from a regulator point of view. We have to find a balance. However, we have got a comms officer in WRS now, and she's doing a lot of work up until Christmas on campaigning and promoting using Wychavon taxis. So don't use Uber up until Christmas. Use a taxi that's licensed. We know that they've been through rigorous training. We know that they've done the safeguarding training. They've all been approved by Wychavon committees. So an officer. So we're doing a lot of work on that, just to make you aware of that. Looking at a meeting outside of here to discuss taxes, it may be beneficial to do that at the taxi forum. I don't think there's been a taxi forum for a while, but that may be a good place to maybe discuss that. Civil enforcement, Councillor Cooge. We can speak to civil enforcement and actually do joint enforcement with civil enforcement. So I can take that back. We have done that in other district councils as well, because we do get pictures of people parking on, taxi drivers parking on double yellows. So I can take that back.
Thank you. That's very helpful. If we can, Councillor Gooch, another question.
Just another point, which I just checked. I mean, having been looking at Uber's website to find out their car age, I've also just looked up a couple of other things on their website. In order to be allowed to access to the Uber network and use the Uber branding as a private hire licensed driver and car, you've got to have your car registered with one of a preset list of Uber approved local authorities, which obviously includes Wolverhampton. It includes several other, including Birmingham and Cambridge and Cardiff and various others. There's about 40 of them in total, but it doesn't include Wychavon or any other Worcestershire authorities. This is possibly a question for Kieran in that case. Do you know why Uber won't let their drivers register their cars with us? And is that has there ever been any conversation with Uber about that, as to get us onto the list of approved authorities?
Dave Etheridge wrote to them on multiple occasions to ask the question. We never got a definitive answer back from them. I can follow that up, but there were several emails sent and the question was asked. So I have no idea why not.
I mean, I think one of the issues is that Wolverhampton operate, as you probably realise, at massive scale now. I mean, but that includes having enforcement officers all around the country. So although it's called Wolverhampton, it's actually, they have officers on the ground all over the country sort of observing what their drivers are doing and trying to follow up on things. And I imagine it would be very difficult now for anybody else to sort of replicate that kind of capability at that cost. So if you're a driver as well, I guess you can choose where you get your license from. And at a price that's sort of about less than a third of ours, it's a fairly easy decision. If we were going to enter the market and we were going to price ourselves at the price that we set for regular taxi drivers, I think we'd struggle. So.
There does appear to be a draft one, but it doesn't have a date on it, so I don't know if that's currently in consultation or has previously been in consultation. But the age of vehicles for Wolverhampton is, it must be no older than 11 years, 6 months. Vehicles are not plated past 12 years. So it's not that dissimilar to ours, actually.
Yeah, no, thank you, Jen. I think, look, I mean, I suggest we do put our heads together. I think getting together with the taxi forum would be a good way of doing that. Obviously, they're in the industry themselves, so they'll have an awful lot of information that they can share. We may not be able to come up with anything better than what we've got, but at least we can ask the questions and just figure out whether or not this is as good as it gets, or whether or not we can go a bit further. I think just from another theme that I wouldn't mind us looking at is this business of renewals. We've got, I think, 6 vehicles to look at this afternoon for those of you who are coming to the subcommittee, and that's going to just continue to grow unless we draw a firm red line, in my view. I personally don't see the sense of it. I don't actually see myself as being particularly qualified to check whether a vehicle is of an exceptional standard or not. I mean, I've got a view, but, it's just that of a common councillor. We're not putting it through any particular additional testing, and I don't actually see the benefit to residents. The cost, meanwhile, I think is fairly obvious to all of us. We have to have meetings like this. There are minutes drawn up, there are agendas drawn up. We're locking down at least 2 members of, or possibly 3 members of staff for a period of an hour and a half. I just don't see how that's effective or how it pays back. And I think what my recommendation would be is that we make that, if with your agreement after we've had the discussion, but we make that view clear, and we allow the industry to adjust to whatever our age limit is going to be. You know, that's again potentially up for discussion again, if bearing in mind what we know about Uber and everything else. So I'll just put that down as a possible thought, and you know, by all means, grab me afterwards and we can have an informal chat about it. But my own feeling is that we've got ourselves locked into a lot of activity. I'm not quite sure that it's really necessarily adding a great deal of value, and I can't believe that it makes sense. We need businesses to be able to operate smoothly, efficiently. You know, having a firm red line is really what you need. I think the Chancellor's learnt all about that over the last week or so. So, all right.
To help us make an informed decision on that, could we have a brief, a rough calculation of the time that we're using up on vehicles that are past the 10 years? Because I think that might help us make an informed decision as a committee. If that's possible.
Sure, Councillor Morris. Yeah, I think you're right. We kind of need a bit of a cost-benefit analysis, you know, for all of that. And, you know, maybe something that the taxi forum will have a view on as well, you know, how they feel about it too. But at the end of the day, my feeling is that if you go to a town and you get into a taxi that's really old, it tells you something about the town and its councillors and their policies. So I think we've got to make sure that we don't look out of sync with anywhere else. Councillor Bowden.
There was an initiative being discussed fairly recently about having our own particular garages to do the assessment on the cars, the MOT and the assessment at the same time within Wychavon. Has that progressed any further, or is that now dead in the water?
I wasn't aware that we were contemplating it, actually, Councillor Bowden. That's an interesting thought. I do know that Redditch has its own garage. So they're the only one of the districts that does, and they do the assessment that we are thinking of doing this afternoon. I think they do that there. I mean, on the plus side, we know that, you know, our drivers, and they have to get their cars MOT'd very regularly, don't they? It's more than once every year. I think it's every 6 months or. And so, you know, they are being looked at. I'm not worried about them being unsafe. It's just more about whether or not it represents value for money. You know, if you're paying a premium to get in a taxi, I think you probably expect to get in a car that's not too old.
To come back, we have had issues with, not many, but a few cars in the past where it's very debatable whether they should have been given the MOT in the first place.
Right, thank you. I think that, again, I mean, that perhaps comes back to the points that were made by Councillor Goode. You know, it does come down to enforcement at the end of the day, all of these things. But that's obviously concerning to hear, because we do rely on the MOT testers. I'm sure, you know, most of them do a very good job. Anything more for us to say on that issue before we go on? Councillor Chotty?
I just want to put in a plea for older cars. I think, of course, they need to be safe and need to be, but from my angle, I don't think that a car that looks old and is old should necessarily mean anything else than that people are trying to make their cars last, which is good, and not buying new cars, which can also be considered good in some ways. So I don't think it's quite as black and white as I've heard. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chotty. And I mean, I'm not going to prejudge it. I think we should have exactly that discussion. Councillor Goode?
Yeah, I mean, if we are going to be more strict on our age limit for cars, then we do, I think, still need some kind of special policy for classic cars that are used for things like weddings and things, because sometimes people want to turn up at their wedding in a 1950s Bentley or something, and we shouldn't stop those cars being used for that kind of purpose, if so long as the vehicle is sufficiently presentable and roadworthy.
I think you make a very good point. You know, we'd want to encourage that sort of level of diversity. So those of you who've got a Model T Ford in the garage, do please bring it out whenever you want to come to Wychavon. That would be great. Good. All right. Thanks very much for that. So actions are get the taxi forum together. We'll get together and have a chat about it all. We'll work hard on civil enforcement. Were there any others? Key ones? I think those are the main ones I had. Anybody else got one that we missed that they're very keen on pushing forward? Okay. Onward and upward. I've lost my agenda. One sec. Has it gone? I've got one here, don't worry, it is here. I know where it is. Nope, that's deregulation. Back to it. Right, item 5. What we're moving on to is Hackney Carriage and Private Hire licence fees and charges. I think most of you hopefully will have had a look at this. There's an appendix 1 which gives you the details, but I'll hand you over. And if you would mind taking us through that as well, thanks. Well.
Thank you, Chair. Every year I work with both the Director and Finance Director to look at fees and charges. It's never that simple. It's quite complicated, actually. We look at the number of licences that we've had, and then we look at how it's been costed up. So we look at the WRS costs and also the internal costs for Wychavon as well. So the legal costs, the costs of committees, all of that's taken into consideration. And then we have a look and see if Wychavon are making a profit or a loss, because we can't make a profit from licensing fees. This year we have not made a profit or a loss, so it's kind of stayed even. The council corporately have said that they'd like to increase fees by 3%, so we've kept that with licensing as well. So we've made no changes other than apply the 3% that corporately Wychavon have done for all of the services across the council. This then goes on to full council. There is one element in here that requires you to recommend to full council regarding the fee waiver that we implemented in 2022. The number of vehicles and licence holders taking this up has stayed quite consistent. There is one other local authority that has also done a fee waiver, but I actually looked at the numbers across all of the districts a couple of months ago, and to be honest, they're all very similar whether we apply the fee waiver or not. So what we are doing as a team next year is we are going to put on an event to kind of encourage licence holders to look at maybe changing their vehicles. We're quite keen not to push this because there is obviously the element of the infrastructure that needs to be in place. But I think the fee waiver is still a good incentive to have. And because the numbers are still low, I would personally still recommend that we keep that in place. There are no new fees for taxes this year, so happy to take any questions.
I think...
Councillor Morris.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. I think when this was first introduced to us, am I right in thinking that Dave said we'd get to a point where the number of electric vehicles would mean that a fee waiver, because I presume that's what you're talking about, wouldn't work, because obviously you've still got to licence and we've still got our costs. So have we got any idea of when that point might be reached? Or?
Every year I speak to the Director of Finance and she said, no, that's absolutely fine. But she's never told me a figure, so that is the person I always ask. So she's happy with the number and the amount at the moment. So it's difficult because when we agreed this, all we said, we never put a deadline on it. We always said we'll review it annually. So, yeah. Unlike another district council that has actually set a budget and they're not going to go over that budget, whereas in Wychavon, it's rolling.
Councillor Turier, thank you.
Are licence applications going up or down or steady overall?
Wychavon has the highest number of licences. I believe it has gone up, but not by much this year. I haven't got the exact. I think I did put the number in one of. Yeah, there is a bit. Well, you say that, but it still remained consistent in Wychavon. It hasn't drastically dropped. So I understand that they have got their own app-based system as well. I think it's called Uber. But in terms of the numbers, that Wychavon does stay consistent and is the highest number across the county.
Any other? Yeah, Councillor Catworthy.
A question before my question. Are we only discussing hackney carriages and private hire at this licensing meeting? Because I appreciate that this particular item regards hackney carriage and private, and then you've got a table. And although the figures in a different way, they don't actually correlate directly with that in the budget scrutiny pack. And in the budget scrutiny pack, there are 4.5 pages of licensing. Are we only discussing hackney carriage and private hire, or are we discussing the whole aspect, in which case, because other members won't have the budget scrutiny pack I've got, because I'm on that panel, they're only seeing that one table.
Thanks, Councillor. Good question.
Kieran and I did actually consult on this, actually, didn't we? She did ask me that question. She said, should I be including all of the licensing fees in the report? And I asked Misha about it, and it's because these have to be these fees in particular have to be decided by licensing committee, and the others don't. And these are set by in statute that it has to be set by the licensing committee or agreed by the licensing committee, etc. And the others don't, so there's no requirement for them to come to committee. I mean, certainly going forward, if you wanted to see them at licensing committee, then there's absolutely no reason why they can't be included, but you don't need to approve them as such.
I just wondered as a licensing committee whether it would be in committee members' interest to know what the other categories are and what those fees are, or as you've just answered, is it purely because these are set in statute and the others not necessarily? When we've done that, Chairman, I've got one more question, please.
Thanks, Councillor. Did you want to answer that, Kieran?
Happy to bring the rest of the fees. There's a mixture of fees that we can uplift, and there's a mixture of statutory fees. Licensing Act fees have been in place for years and they've never been reviewed. I mean, £21 for a 10, that's, that definitely needs reviewing. There's Gambling Act fees that also are statutory. The ones that we tend to look at and add the 3% to are the animal licensing fees. We've introduced a new fee for animal licences this year, and that's franchises. There's zoo licences and DWA, dangerous wild animals. I forgot what the acronym meant then. There's the taxes, and then there's scrap metal fees, street trading fees. We have implemented a new street trading fee this year, and that's for a day fee and a consecutive day fee. With consumer habits now changing and lots of events and festivals, we think that street traders who only want to maybe do 1 or 2, 3 days should be allowed to trade. So we've introduced that fee. That's the only ones I can remember off the top of my head. But happy to bring them if the committee wants them at future committees.
So the other question, just for clarification then, if we look at the table that we've got in front of us, fully electric Hackney carriage vehicle licence and fully electric private vehicle licence are zeros. Is there any reason why they're zeros and there isn't a fee?
Councillor, that's the fee waiver that we just discussed. So, yeah, we agreed a fee waiver in 2022, and because the numbers are still quite low, we've continued to recommend that we continue that fee waiver. That's okay, don't worry.
It's obviously an incentive to have more electric vehicles apply for licences, but it doesn't appear to be terribly effective thus far, does it? So.
No, thanks for the clarification, Councillor Catworthy. I think it is a good question in terms of your earlier point. What's the universe, if you like, of the things that this committee has a say over versus the things that it doesn't? So just to recap on that, am I saying that the only ones that we have a say over are actually those on Appendix 1, or does it actually include some of the things that you were mentioning, like the zoo fees? No, none of that. So basically the rest of it is set by the exec board's decision. They've gone for 3% across the board. Most of these were around 3%, as I could see. The only question I had then was, in the preamble to it, you were saying, Kieran, that we didn't make a profit or we didn't make a loss last year, so we were flat. So why would we increase it by 3%?
Salary costs. So it's the actual time.
Okay.
Which is still lower than what the uplift was.
You mean the salary costs are going to go up by less than 3%, or you mean that the uplift is less than the salary increases?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Councillor Googe?
Yeah, apparently we've got 10 fully electric vehicles on our fleet out of just under 500, so it's a very small proportion at the moment. I would hope that that will start to go up as our current petrol vehicles gradually reach their 10 years, but we've got a while to go yet, I think, before the fee waiver for electric vehicles is going to cost us significant amounts of money. Going back to the other licensing fees and things, I'm inclined to agree with John that it would be good to bring them here, even though we're not required to. The main reason for that is that the ONS Budget Scrutiny Group aren't necessarily going to have input from licensing officers, whereas we do, and I think it's useful to have that input when considering the fees. So even if we're only making a recommendation to the exec board regarding those fees, I still think it would be good if they could come to us first before they then go to exec for a decision, so that we can get input from licensing officers at the time as to whether the officers feel that the fees are right or need increasing, or even in some cases decreasing.
Thanks, Councillor Googe. I think that is a fair point, isn't it? You know, we are the ones who are looking at it on a day-to-day basis, and perhaps if we're going to, it may be out of our control directly, but if we're going to say something, I think it should probably come from here. Is that doable?
I did check under the scheme of delegation, actually, when Kieran asked me this question, and I think the delegation is to WRS. It says for determination of fee levels. So, it's not a decision for anybody but WRS, I don't think. But I can double check that. But, on the face of it, that's what the scheme of delegation says to me, is that we don't have the authority to set those fees or influence them in any way.
But just to play devil's advocate on that then, so let's suppose we had a policy that we really wanted to reduce the cost of taxi licence fees, and that was agreed across the exec board. How would that be manifest if it was WRS who was going to have the last say on it?
But taxis are excluded. It's the other licensing fees. So the Gambling Act and the taxi fees, they have to come via licensing committee or licensing authority, but the others don't.
Okay, sorry, yes. So let me rephrase it. So all of the others, if the exec board wanted to reduce, say, the cost of having a primate, why not? How would they do that? Because I think what you were saying is that WRS sets the fees irrespective, or that doesn't seem quite right to me.
There's some obviously that are statutory. So, for example, the primate one is a statutory fee that's set. Pavement licensing is a statutory fee. All the others are fees set with the finance team, making sure that we don't make a profit. So when we look at that fee, increase or where it is, it's that discussion that we have there. So, yeah.
Councillor Googe, would it work for you then if we got a list of all the fees that are out there, split between those that are statutory and those that are being set by WRS? I'm not sure that there's anything for us to do in relation to them today, and I suppose I don't want us to slow up progress on approving or noting or whatever it is that we do need to do for item 5. But otherwise, I take your point, it wouldn't be a bad thing to look at. We could look at it in our sort of subsequent meeting where we're looking at the Hackney carriages in general.
I think it would be nice to have them come to us as a report just for noting, really, because I think it would be valuable to members of the committee to understand how the fees work for the whole spread of things that we're responsible for licensing, even if it's the things that we rarely get to make a decision on, things like primate licenses and, I don't know, sex establishment licenses, not that we've got any apparently in Wychavon. So I'm reliably informed, I wouldn't know. But these things, it's useful to know these and zoo licenses. We've got zoo license premises in Wychavon. It would be nice to know just how much they're paying for their licenses, why they're paying that amount for their license. Is it a statutory requirement, or is that the amount that our officers have assessed is necessary to cover the costs of issuing the license? And just to get some input and maybe be able to ask questions on that. A lot of it maybe is just background information, but I think it just would be useful to know.
Okay, and the time frame for that?
Whenever.
Okay, Kieran, can you manage to do that for the next meeting?
It's likely to be in March, I think, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Just to be clear though, any new fees always come to this committee first. So I think the primate ones did come here earlier this year with the fees. The pavement licensing one came either late last year or earlier this year with the fees. So any new policies always do have the fees in them. So they shouldn't all be a surprise.
I'm not suggesting they'd all necessarily be a surprise. I just think because we don't get them on a regular basis, after a while, when something ceased to be new, and particularly when we've got new members of the committee who weren't here when they were first introduced, it would be useful to have a reminder of them. I mean, this going forward, maybe we could just make this an annual report to the licensing committee of current fees and charges, setting out which are statutory, which are set by officers, which are set by committee, and so on, just so we've got that as our agenda pack to refer to if necessary.
I'm perfectly happy with that. I think it certainly makes sense that we've got that overview. We should be mindful of what the costs look like across the piece, even if we don't actually have control of them.
It's quite interesting as a reminder just how many different aspects of licensing there are as well, really, because we tend to forget about them, don't we?
Thank you. Okay, any other questions on 5? We happy otherwise? Okay. Consider it considered. I don't know that we don't make a decision or anything like that. No. Okay. Let's move on then to item 6. So minutes of the licensing subcommittee meetings. To note the minutes that have been held. Any comments on those minutes? I don't know if any of you've had a chance to look through them. I've had a look through the ones that I was at. That seemed okay to me. All good? Right, in that case, we will note those, and I think that just leaves us with item 7, which is the date of the next meeting, and that's scheduled for the 18th of March, 2026. Happy New Year. All right, thanks everybody.
just make sure the red's... When you
Morning, you number 8, I think, on our agenda. So I understand you've got to try and get to Gloucester. Okay, all right. I think in that case, sorry, I haven't got my agenda up here. Item 8 on our list. Thanks very much. So,
Don't do the preliminaries.
oh yeah. Okay, so Chairman, to make any introductions, I'm Chris Day, I'm the chair. I've got Councillor Tourier, Councillor Ciotti with me, Jen Ager, who's our legal officer, and Sarah Royal, who's from WRS. Apologies for absence, Mel. Anybody? No.
No, we have no apologies.
We're all good. Declarations of interest, if any. I'm sure that's none. Procedure note, just to say that we're following the procedures on pages 5 and 6 of this pack. And then we're off into looking at the various vehicles. And I think we're starting with yours, which is LC15, is that right? Yeah, okay. So, Sarah, did you want to do the honours? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of the report is to consider and determine an application from Kwame Agicum for the renewal of a licence to use a vehicle as a private hire vehicle. The subcommittee are asked to decide whether to grant or refuse the application. On the 27th of October, an application was received from Kwame for a renewal of a licence to use the following vehicle as a private hire vehicle. To confirm, it's LC15 ZRF BMW 318 black. Date of first registration is the 6th of July 2025. A copy of the MOT certificate is attached to Appendix 1. Officers are not able to grant the application under delegated powers as the vehicle falls outside the Council's normal policy in relation to the grant of licences to use vehicles as private hires. The vehicle must be under 10 years old in accordance with the policy. The vehicle is currently 10 years and 4 months old. A copy of the DVLA registration has been distributed. Members should pay particular attention to section 3.11 of the policy in consideration of vehicles that do not meet the required criteria. This extract of the section is given below. The mileage recorded on the vehicle at the MOT on the 27th of October 2025 was 141 miles, 1,000 miles and 179. The MOT history has been attached to Appendix 2. The applicant has been invited to attend the hearing to present their case and has also been asked to make their vehicle available for inspection. Thank you.
Super, okay. Should we go and have a look at the vehicle? If you've got any questions.
Who's got any comments first?
Do you have any comments you wanted to make as the owner?
Not at the moment, so. Unless you have any questions, and then I can answer.
All right, I'll just see if my fellow councillors have got some. Can I ask, did you buy the vehicle then recently?
I purchased it 2.5 years ago, please.
Okay. And it's been running as a taxi in that time?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay. What about the advisories on the MOT?
They've all been done.
Okay. All right. I mean, if we can have a look at the vehicle, have you got any evidence of the advisories being done on you?
I didn't know I had to bring it in. I mean, he advised one of
It was
my
rear brake
near side
pad.
tie, which has been changed.
Yeah. Oh, I suppose we can have a look at that perhaps in the brake pad.
Definitely,
That will
yeah.
probably be good, wouldn't it? All right. Let's do that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Kwame. We're going to defer your application. That means you can still drive the car, but we are deferring it to the next meeting before we pass it. We'd like you to fix the bumper at the back and the item on the bonnet so that it looks good. The problem we have, I hope you understand, is in allowing people to go for more than 10 years, we have to meet the standard that it looks exceptionally good. And a lot of the cars that come do look immaculate, I have to say. You know, they really do. So we were being contrary to our policy if we were to let it go through as it stands. But deferral allows you to carry on in the meantime, but we would expect you to fix that and then bring it back and we can approve it when it's done.
17th of December. Yeah, the next committee is on the 17th of December.
17th of December. Okay.
Yeah. Sarah will be in touch with you, won't you?
Quick question, Sarah. The plate itself runs out on the 28th. Yeah. What happens?
You can use your vehicle until it's determined.
Okay,
So-
I can't use it till it's determined.
Yeah.
Or I can.
You can use it until it's
You can
determined,
use it,
yeah.
okay, that's fine.
So you can still drive it.
Okay.
But you must come back to the next committee.
Definitely. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you
I'll
very
get
much.
that sorted.
Thanks. Okay, cheers now.
Press it. Take it off when you're not speaking as well.
Yeah.
Hi, welcome. I think I recognise you. I'm
Yeah, how you
Chris.
doing? You all right? You okay?
Yes, I'm good.
I
Thanks.
brought a visitor with me today. It's my wife.
Hello, yes.
She
nice.
thinks I don't do anything,
Hello.
so I said, you're going to have to come
Well,
with me today.
Yes, you've got all these things that you're doing, and
You can
you know,
observe. She's just observing.
that's excellent. No, that's fine. Welcome. I'm Chris Day. I'm the chair of the committee. I've got Councillor Turier and Councillor Chotti with me. And on my left, I've got Jen Ager from our legal team, and Sarah Royal is from WRS, which is Worcestershire Regulatory Services, who do most of the sort of work on this. So I'm going to hand over to Sarah to talk us through the application. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of the report is to consider and determine an application from Ms Rosia Hussain for the renewal of a licence to use a vehicle as a private hire vehicle. The subcommittee are asked to decide whether to grant or refuse the application. On the 15th of August 2025, an application was received from Rosia Hussain for the renewal of a licence to use a vehicle as a private hire vehicle. Vehicle registration W0083R, Mercedes-Benz 250, date of first registration 21st of May 2014, expiry of the current licence is the 14th of August 2025. The wheelchair is not wheelchair accessible. A copy of the MOT certificate is attached to Appendix 1. Officers are not able to grant the application under delegated powers as the vehicle falls outside the Council's normal policy in relation to the grant of licences to use vehicles as private hire vehicles. The policy restricts the age to under 10 years of age. The vehicle is currently 11 years and 6 months old. A copy of the DVLA registration document has been passed around. On review of the licence history, it appears that this vehicle should have been reviewed by the licensing subcommittee in 2024, as it was over 10 years, but due to an error, the licence was granted for a further 12 months. Members should pay particular attention to section 3.11 of the policy in consideration of applications of vehicles that do not meet the required criteria. The extract is given below with the advice regarding the exceptional standard of the vehicle. The mileage recorded on the vehicle at the MOT on the 7th of August 2025 was 146,000 miles, 646. The MOT history has been attached to Appendix 2. The applicant has been invited to attend the hearing to present their case and has also been asked to make their vehicle available for inspection. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Sarah. Anything from yourself about the car?
No, nothing at all. No.
Thank you.
There is another vehicle as well. I don't know if you're going to do both together or separate. There's another vehicle.
They'll be separate.
That'll be separate. Okay.
Okay. Are they massively apart on the agenda, or is there any value in trying to...
I think it is the next one. Let me just check.
Yeah, 14, yeah. I've only said it because normally when I bring two vehicles, we just do inspect both of them at the same time instead of keep going back out again. I just thought I'd mention it, that's all. It's entirely up to you guys.
Thank you. You know, it makes sense. Are we okay to do that, Sarah? Yeah. So perhaps tell us about that one.
Would you like to me to read the report now?
Yes, thanks. Yeah. So that's item 6. Thanks very much. Oh, sorry, I should have asked that. So both of you, that's the... yes, that's right, yeah.
Thank you, Chair. I'll read the report now. The application is to consider and determine an application from Rosia Hussain for the renewal of a licence to use vehicle as a private hire vehicle. The subcommittee are asked whether to decide to grant or refuse the application. On the 15th of October 2025, an application was received from Ms Rosia Hussain for the renewal of a licence to use a vehicle as a private hire vehicle. Registration number HT22XCU 4 Tornado Grey, date of first registration 19th of August 2022. The expiry of the licence is the 11th of October 2025. A copy of the MOT certificate has been submitted and is attached to Appendix 1. Officers are not able to grant the application under delegated powers as the vehicle falls outside the Council's normal policy in relation to the grant of licences to use vehicles as private hire vehicles. The vehicle is a Category S write-off for insurance purposes. Category S is where the vehicle has suffered structural damage and the cost of the repairs is more than the vehicle's value, but can be repaired for road use. A copy of the DVLA registration document confirming the Category S grading has been circulated to members. Prior to September 22, Council's policy allowed private hire vehicles to be licensed if they were graded as write-off for insurance purposes, subject to passing a normal MOT. The Council's policy changed in September 2022 and will no longer renew a licence for a private hire vehicle that has been graded as Category S write-off for insurance purposes. The vehicle has been licensed as a private hire vehicle with Wychavon District Council since October 2023. The vehicle was previously reviewed by the Licensing Subcommittee on the 18th of December 2024 for insurance classification. The application was granted for renewal. A copy of the decision notice is attached to Appendix 2. The applicant has been invited to attend the hearing to present their case and has also been asked to make the vehicle available for inspection. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay. Right, okay, so on that occasion that was passed, looking at Appendix 2, let's see. Yeah. And how are you doing on the advisories on the other vehicles, so the Mercedes?
Yeah, all the advisories have all been done.
They've all been done?
Yeah, all been
okay.
done, yeah.
All right.
So basically, once we had the MOT done, there was advisors on there, and then we've just put it forward to the garage and they get it done straight away, yeah. Because we've got such a large fleet, we have an allocated garage, so just things just get done as and when they need to be done.
Right, so that was the offside front and offside rear. Okay. Great, all right. Let's go and have a look at them. If that's all right, everybody.
Thank you.
Grateful to get back in here. It is a lot warmer. Okay, thank you for bringing those in. We're happy to renew the licences on them. I didn't see it, but somebody noticed that on the Mercedes there seems to be a slightly different white.
Yeah, so basically what's happened there is we got the car, we gave the vehicle to somebody else to spray, and they haven't done the most tidiest job, but it is going to go back in and get that done.
Oh, okay.
We can send a picture in once it's done if you like, that's no issue at all.
Okay.
Yeah, probably next few days it's going to get done.
Thanks.
Yeah, if you just want to send it.
Okay, yeah, that would be great.
Awesome.
Good. Okay, thank you very much, both of you, and nice to meet you. And I think, you know, as I was saying earlier, we did have a meeting earlier today, and you know, we are looking to get information from what's going on in the business. So I think you would be a good person to have as a kind of
100%.
witness
We
for
definitely
us.
need a chat, because you guys are going to end up losing a lot of plates as well. And a lot of people are shifting to Wolverhampton. Like I said, we've had about 40 drivers leave us, and we've got evidence of that on our database to show you. And it's concerning for us, and it's probably going to be concerning for you guys as well. You're not going to have any licenses being renewed. You're not going to get any more tests coming in, because they're all shifting. Because it's only taking time, because there's a waiting list in Wolverhampton. So we haven't really realised how many figures are down, because there's a lot of people that haven't told us they're leaving, but they're on the waiting list to get a new badge. Yeah, right. You can't go to Wolverhampton now and get a badge. There's a waiting list. So there's probably about 50 more on a waiting list somewhere, and we're going to find out, because in the mornings we can't cover any work anymore. All the cars are either gone on contracts because it's guaranteed money, because they know taxis, there's no money left in taxis anymore, because Uber's taken it all. So they've all gone over to get contract work, which is guaranteed. Because obviously everyone's got bills to pay, and they need with taxis, you don't know how much you're going to earn today, tomorrow, or the end of the week. So they've gone for contracts. In the morning we're getting about 30 phone calls for taxis. We can't provide the work. We can't provide a driver, because we've probably got 4 drivers working, because everyone's gone on a contract, because the work's gone down, because Uber's took it. And there's Uber's coming in the morning and taking all the work that we're not doing, because we can't provide. So it's a bit of a stressful scenario at the moment, to be honest. We don't know what to do.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean,
definitely worth a meeting, definitely worth a chat.
Yeah. I think that would be good to, you know, I think we are very keen to sort of understand what is happening in the marketplace, as you say.
Yeah, it's getting really bad out there. Even if you just drive around Worcester, if you want to visit Worcester in the daytime or in the evening sometime and just observe, you will see how many Wolverhampton taxi drivers are driving around and parked up and causing a problem. It's not like I'm just saying it. It's evident. You can see it with your own eyes. You know, you just have to be on a Friday, Saturday night, be in the city centre. You'll see about 20, 30 Ubers flying around with Wolverhampton plates on them, and our cars are all parked up. The ranks all backed up all the way around by bushwhackers, and they're hanging off the roads because there's that many cars parked up because there's no work.
Right.
And the traffic's not moving. The cars that are parked up for waiting for work on the ranks, they're not moving because no one's using them.
But they're not supposed to be on ranks, are they, the Uber cars?
Yeah, but the Uber just park right opposite the rank, pick them up. Say if the rank's on the cross in Worcester, they'll park outside Slug and Lettuce or somewhere there by Costa and pick them up and take them. And the Hackney's got drivers just looking, thinking, oh, there goes our customer. He used to use us. So it's becoming a bit of a sad scenario, to be honest, and it needs to be addressed, because we're going to lose business. We've worked 7-8 years. We've worked so hard to provide a safe service in Worcester, and then all of a sudden, overnight, it's gone. Yes. And we've provided so much work and so much for the community as well. We've literally made about 200-300 vacancies, and we've filled these vacancies up very quickly. So they're going to lose drivers. We're going to lose a lot. So it's really concerning.
And I think, the thing from our point of view is we want to, if we're a licensing committee, we want to understand what the local market looks like and the people that are being employed. I think as much as Uber is obviously a successful business model, I mean, it doesn't necessarily provide that. I think Wolverhampton, do a heroic job of sort of trying to
I think Wolverhampton are just in it for the money. We was in Egypt a few months back, and there was Ubers in Egypt. Some of the cars never had no headlights. We were sat on the back of one, it was wobbling. We looked at each other, we're going to get home. Honestly, there's no rules and regulations with Uber, I'm telling you, it's crazy. I don't understand how they pass their vehicles, I don't get it.
Well, I think that's the question, isn't it? How things enforced. And as you say, it's something that's come up upon us all very quickly. A bit like
It's
a
a
lot of
safety
these
issue as well, isn't it? You don't know who the driver is. You can't regulate that because how are you going to stop a Wolverhampton driver and ask him, who are you, what's your name? How can you go back on your computers and check who he is? You can't.
I think that point about having false plates does worry me, I must admit, because I think if regular taxi drivers will know the other companies that exist and they'll know roughly, you know, what looks right, and they'll be able to call it out quite. Afternoon. So, Mr. Rudge, Paul Rudge? No?
No, Rob Day, so I manage the fleet and everything at Blue Door, so Paul is the company director.
Right, I'm with you. Okay. Right, so we're looking at a Skoda, that's right, isn't it? Let me introduce everybody. So I'm Councillor Chris Day, I'm the chairman, and then I've got Councillor Tourier, Councillor Ciotti, to my right, and then Jen Ager from Legal, and Sarah Royale from WRS, who you probably know. So I'll hand over to Sarah in a minute. We'll just have a look at the documents. Thank you.
Shall I begin?
Thank you very much, Sarah.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. The purpose of the report is to consider and determine an application from Mr Paul Rudge for the renewal of a licence to use a vehicle as a private hire vehicle. The subcommittee are asked to decide whether to grant the application or to refuse it. On the 1st of October 2025, an application was received from Mr Paul Rudge for the renewal of a licence to use the following vehicle as a private hire vehicle, GL15 WTZ, a Skoda Octavia Silver, date of first registration 18th of May 2015. The expiry date of the current licence is the 31st of October 2025, and the vehicle is not wheelchair accessible. A copy of the MOT certificate has been submitted and is attached to Appendix 1. Officers are not able to grant the application under delegated powers, as the vehicle falls outside the Council's normal policy in relation to the grant of licences to use vehicles as private hire vehicles. Vehicles that are not wheelchair accessible need to be under 10 years of age. The vehicle is currently 10 years and 6 months old. A copy of the DVLA registration document has been circulated. Members should pay particular attention to section 3.11 of the policy, the consideration of applications to licensed vehicles that do not meet the required criteria, and the extract is provided below. The mileage recorded on the vehicle at the MOT on the 2nd of October 2025 was 249,930. The MOT history has been attached to Appendix 2. The applicant has been invited to attend the hearing to present their case and has also been asked to make their vehicle available for inspection. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. So it's just... Okay, so the most recent MOT, no advisories on that, is that right? 2nd of October, is that the way I'm reading that? Okay. And how long have you had the vehicle for as a business?
We've owned the vehicle since it was 12 months old, so it's been within our fleet for the last 9 years.
Got you. Okay, so we know all about that, or you know all about it, rather. Good, okay. Yes, so the MOTs, they have to be done, is it every 3 months or?
We just need them to be under 30 days old at the time of submission, so.
Yes, I think the question was how frequently do they have to be done during the year? Is it a matter of mileage and age, or I've forgotten what the rule is?
It's if they're over 7 years old, they have to be done every 6 months.
Okay, because I think some of them look like less than 6 months on this thing. That's probably what you're thinking, isn't it?
No, that's because when they put the application in, when they submit the application, they have to have an MOT under 3 months old. That's why.
Right, okay.
So that's part of the licence application.
So
the MOT has to be. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, sorry, I'll just explain that because there is one that looks within dates of about 2 months. That's because we did the MOT as we would ordinarily to renew the plate, then realised it was falling outside of the 10-year age, and then in order to resubmit the paperwork, that MOT was actually outside of the 30-day window, so it had to be re-MOT'd again in order to submit with the paperwork. So hence why there is 2 MOTs sort of within probably about a 40-day window, something like that on there.
Thanks very much. I think that's where we were headed. Thank you. Thanks, Liz. Right. Any questions? No? No, thanks. Right, we'll go and Hi, Rob. Thanks very much for showing us the car. I mean, we're happy to license it as you can imagine. I think I recognise you as well. Did you not come as a referee for a chat recently? Was that you, or was it perhaps? Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So that's grand, and yeah, I think if we are able to follow up, we're trying to get as many views as we can on what's going on. That would be very helpful. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks a lot for your time. Thank you. Thanks. Cheers. Yeah, yes, good afternoon. Yeah, this is where we hold our full council meetings, so sorry, it does look a little bit over the top for one person to come into. Apologies for that. Welcome, Mohammed. It's Mr. Baig, isn't it? Yeah, so my name's Christopher Day. I'm the chairman of the licensing committee, and to my right I've got Councillor Turier and Councillor Ciotti. To my left, Jen Ager, who's from the legal team, and Sarah Royal from WRS, who you may know. Okay. Anything you wanted to tell us about the car?
Yes.
At some point. Well, sorry, Sarah needs to do her intro first, I should say, so apologies. I'm taking it out of order. But we'll get to that in a minute.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of the report is to consider and determine an application from Mr Mohammed Baig for the renewal of a licence to use a vehicle as a private hire vehicle. The subcommittee are asked to decide whether to grant or refuse it. On the 3rd of November 2025, an application was received from Mr Mohammed Baig for the renewal of a licence to use a vehicle as a private hire vehicle. Vehicle details, registration SH71 KJY, Peugeot Rifter, bronze, date of first registration, 16th of December 2021. The expiry date of the plate, licence, shall I say, is the 8th of November 2025. A copy of the MOT certificate is attached to Appendix 1. Officers are not able to grant the application under delegated powers as the vehicle falls outside the Council's normal policy in relation to the grant of licences to use vehicles as private hire vehicles. The vehicle has previously been graded as Category S write-off for insurance purposes. Category S is where the vehicle has suffered structural damage and the cost of the repairs is more than the vehicle's value, but can be repaired for road use. A copy of the DVLA registration has been circulated. Prior to September 2022, the Council's policy allowed private hire vehicles to be licensed if they were graded as write-off for insurance purposes, subject to passing the normal MOT. The Council's policy changed in September 2022 and will no longer renew a licence for a private hire vehicle that has been graded as Category S, write-off for insurance purposes. The vehicle has been licensed as a private hire vehicle with Wychavon District Council since November 2023. The vehicle should have been reviewed by a licensing subcommittee in 2023 and 2024 for the insurance classification. This will be the first review of the vehicle for insurance classification. The applicant has been invited to attend the hearing to present their case and has also been asked to make the vehicle available for inspection. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Sarah. Just a quick question. You said it's been a vehicle since 23, so why wasn't it done earlier then if it's an S-Class? Does it not have to be done immediately?
It does. I can only say it's probably been an oversight by the previous reviewing officer.
Okay. Right. So an application comes in, it says it's a Category S and they've just taken it as being a normal?
Well, you need to review the V5. The only way you can really tell if it's a Category S is by reviewing the V5 normally an officer would check that, but in this case, it appears that that hasn't been carried out.
Chair, I think I remember Tom telling me before. Tom was a previous licensing officer, that sometimes when the application is made, they only have the keeper's slip, don't they, rather than the full V5. So sometimes that's how it slips through the net.
Okay. Right. How do we find out what's happened in a category S? Do we have to ask the owner, or do we have any evidence of what the accident was? Details of the write-off?
If it was in the owner's ownership at the time, or whether the owner was aware of the accident damage when they bought the car, that's really the only way we can clarify, because that's the only, we can only tell it from the V5 that we have here, really, that it has been category S vehicle, I think.
Okay. All right. Where's that? Right, yeah.
I mean, we could maybe try check the MOT history, but that's just an option. I could try and look it up for you, if you like.
If you wouldn't mind having a look at that,
I'll
and
have a
then
look now.
we'll
Okay.
ask you, Mohammed, if you can tell
Yeah,
us a bit more about the
absolutely.
car and
Yes,
what happened to it. That would be great. Thank you.
Absolutely. I can give you some background with regards to the vehicle. I purchased the vehicle of Mr. Nasir Ahmed, and that vehicle at that time was registered with Worcester City Council as a Hackney taxi before I bought it. And that was inspected by Gemini, which is the authority, mechanical authority for checking the Worcester City cars. So they had a thorough check of that vehicle, and they issued a plate under Worcester City. At that time, just a bit of background about my own business. We transport passengers with vulnerable needs, because it's an accessible vehicle for wheelchairs, and this particular car takes a wider wheelchair than the standard one. It was a vehicle I was looking for, so then I approached Mr. Nasir and asked him if he was interested in selling the vehicle. He then sold me the vehicle, and then I'll re-register it under a Wychavon plate, because my drivers are all Wychavon drivers. There was an inspection done at the time of, because obviously it was registered as a new vehicle taken off from the Worcester plate, which was handed back, and that's where I can tell you. We had a new MOT done for the inspection that was done by Wychavon, and then they issued me the plate, and then the following year we just reapplied for the plate again, getting the MOT. The vehicle is regularly serviced, like all our cars in our fleet. Because of the vulnerable passengers we're carrying, it's a health and safety issue, so we always make sure that all the work is carried out to a comprehensive standard and roadworthy.
Okay. So when you bought it, it was already a category S, was it? Presumably?
No, when I bought it, it was already category S, but it was repaired by the previous owner, and then taken to Worcester City to be licensed with them, and it was checked by Gemini, which is the mechanical side of the Worcester City cars that do the inspections, separate to the MOT.
Got it. Okay, I see what you're saying now. Gemini, they're the crash repair
Yes.
team. Yes.
Yes.
Tim Hopkins, I think.
That's yes. That's
okay.
right, yes.
Know him. All right. Just one question then. On the slip, it's got Mohammed Yassin. Is that
Yassin
a
Beg,
driver?
yes. Yes, that's me. Yeah.
Okay. How does that work, guys? We've got Mohammed Beg on the. Is that just a mistake or not?
No, I think
is there some
in your application it's under Mohammed Beg,
right,
but on your V5 you've got Mohammed Yassin.
Yeah, that's my middle name.
So Mohammed
Yassin
is your middle name.
Yassin's my middle name.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so
I think on previous other documents it is Mohammed Yassin Beg, so that's we've accepted.
Got it. Okay.
yeah, sorry about that. I mean, I can provide identification if you verification of that.
Thank you. That's fine. I mean, we do obviously have owners who are different from the people who are representing. That's not a problem. But I think it was just.
I think I've got my driving license with me if you want to see.
Okay. Well, well, I mean, we can have a look at that if you'd like. Any questions from my other councillors on the papers or anything so far? No? Okay. I'll tell you what, we could have a look at the car and then, we can have, if you've got your licence, I can have a look at it, but I take your word for it. I don't think it's going to be an issue. We're looking at the car, really. Okay.
Sorry, Chair, just to confirm, the MOT history doesn't provide any information about the salvage at all, any defects or anything like that. So.
Yeah.
Thanks. Cheers for now. Bye.